afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, August 20, 2024. It is 2:02 p.m. My name is Tom Easter, Chair of the Board. To my right, Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Curly Revere. To my left is Commissioner Jerry Edwards and Commissioner Lee Fox. Calling our meeting to order, the meeting will begin with the pledge of allegiance to be led by Commissioner Mejia.
If you'll please stand and join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, would like to proceed with the land acknowledgement.
We would also like to start today with a land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial and who still inhabit the area today. Specifically, the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thanks, sir. We have a proposed agenda. There's been a few changes since this morning. Commissioners are comfortable with those changes. I'd be ready for a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the proposed agenda. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is presentations. We have two scheduled for this afternoon. First is a proclamation for Target Zero. And do we have, yes, come on up.
Hi, good afternoon. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. My name is Tara Tsaplana, and I serve as the Thurston County Target Zero Manager at the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. The Target Zero program is committed to a vital mission, eliminating deaths and serious injuries on our roads. In my role, I work closely with community groups, nonprofit organizations, and law enforcement partners to enhance and coordinate traffic safety efforts within Thurston County. The impacts of COVID-19 were felt across our county and state, not just in our hospitals, businesses, and schools, but also on our roads. One public health crisis has unfortunately given rise to another, as traffic fatalities in Washington increased by 50% from 2019 to 2023. Last year alone, Thurston County experienced a staggering 94% increase in traffic fatalities. These numbers are deeply concerning and underscore the urgent need to address this issue, because even one traffic fatality is too many. Traffic safety is a critical issue that affects not only individuals on the road, but the well-being of our entire community. Impaired driving is the leading cause of fatal crashes in Thurston County, with over half of all fatal crashes involving an impaired driver. Whether due to alcohol, other drugs, or a combination of both, impaired driving has devastating consequences, causing loss of life, irreversible injuries, and profound grief for the families left behind. Speeding is another major concern, contributing to 30% of all fatal crashes over the last 6 years. These issues do not occur in isolation. The data show a high correlation between impaired driving and speeding. Speeding in school zones is especially troubling, as it puts our most vulnerable road users, our children, at risk. Recent observation studies in Thurston County showed most drivers were speeding through school zones, which is clearly unacceptable. While Washington boasts one of the highest rates of seatbelt use in the country with a 94% compliance rate, it's still concerning that 1 in 5 traffic fatalities involved an unrestrained individual. Despite these challenges, there's hope. Prevention through education is key. The Washington Traffic Safety Commission now offers a peer-led program called Teens in the Driver's Seat. It's available at no cost to all Washington high schools and middle schools, so please help us get the word out about that. In addition to education, we must foster a community where all individuals feel supported in making responsible choices, whether by providing alternatives to driving under the influence, such as public transportation or rideshare services, or by offering therapeutic courts that provide structure, support, and accountability. We also envision a community where all youth have equal access to driver education, which remains financially out of reach for some families, widening the disparities we often see in underserved communities. I would like to now recognize the exceptional work of my Target Zero partners. Lieutenant Fraley from the Olympia Police Department's here to represent that agency. We also work closely with Thurston County Sheriff's Office, Washington State Patrol, and Washington Liquor and Cannabis Board. These officers, deputies, and troopers dedicate countless hours, especially on holiday weekends, game days, and other major events, to prevent traffic deaths by identifying and removing impaired, speeding, unrestrained, and distracted drivers from our road. As a community, we have the power to come together to educate the public and prevent traffic fatalities. By supporting each other and making responsible choices, we can build a safer and more resilient community for ourselves and our neighbors. I'd like to thank you for your time and commitment to positive change in our community. And I'd like to invite Mandy Dell from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission to give a little perspective on the statewide efforts.
Good afternoon. My name is Mandy Dell. I'm a program manager at the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, and I'm pleased to be here today as you share your commitment to Target Zero with this proclamation. Last year in Washington State, 810 people died and 3,413 people were seriously injured in crashes involving motor vehicles. This represents an 85% increase since 2013 in fatalities and a 78% increase for serious injuries. 2023 was the deadliest year on Washington roadways since 1990. This is a public health crisis. Every one of us uses our roadways in some capacity, whether it's driving, walking, riding a bike, and yet it's one of the riskiest things we can do. The Washington Traffic Safety Commission is currently in the process of updating our Strategic Highway Safety Plan, also known as the Target Zero Plan. In the updated plan, there's a strong emphasis on the safe system approach. The safe system approach aims to reduce fatalities and serious injuries by creating a system that supports the following elements: safer land use, safer vehicles, safer speeds, safer road users, and post-crash care. And these elements are supported by some core principles, which are death and serious injuries are unacceptable. We support safe road use. We work to reduce large crash forces because humans are vulnerable. We all work together with the philosophy of a shared responsibility, and safety is proactive. We strengthen all parts of the system to create redundancy so that when a crash occurs, it doesn't need to necessarily be a fatality or serious injury. The safe system approach prioritizes human life by designing roads, vehicles, and speeds to minimize the impact of inevitable human errors, making every journey safer. This approach requires all of us, government, industry, nonprofits, advocates, researchers, and the general public. We need to make traffic safety a shared responsibility. As Tara mentioned a little bit, one of our biggest emphasis areas is impaired road users. From 2020 to 2022, 60% of all of our traffic fatalities involved an impaired road user. That is a total of 1,188 people killed due to an impaired road user in a 3-year period. I use the term road user because these statistics include a driver, pedestrian, or bicyclist with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08% or higher, or a positive drug result as confirmed by the State Toxicology Laboratory, or reported as impaired by alcohol or drugs by investigating law enforcement. One public policy that we believe would help the issue of impaired road users is to reduce the legal per se limit for DUI from 0.08% to 0.05 blood alcohol concentration. Currently, Utah is the only state in the U.S. with a 0.05 limit. Legislation to lower the BAC limit for alcohol to 0.05% has been introduced to the Washington legislature 4 times, including 2017, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Legislation is expected to be introduced again in 2025. The 0.05% BAC limit is the most common standard internationally, and it has been found to reduce alcohol-involved fatal crashes by 11% on average across several countries studied. We are hopeful that by lowering the BAC limit, it will change people's behavior and encourage them to separate drinking from driving. Policy and behavior change take time, but if we can do something to prevent impairment on our roadways, we would be much closer to a goal of zero and a safe system. The opportunity to speak to a group such as you helps us create awareness at the local level about what is happening on our roadways. Thank you for your interest in traffic safety and for the Target Zero proclamation we are here to recognize.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Yes, Commissioner Edwards.
I guess I'm curious, you mentioned Utah is the only state. Do they have marijuana legal in Utah?
I do not believe so, is that correct?
And what effect have we had with I'm picking on marijuana just because it's one of the drugs that's been legalized. I know people use a lot of other things, but what's the change been since the state legalized marijuana?
I don't have exact statistics, but I'll give you my details after this and I can get back to you with some.
Okay, well, thank you for all you're doing, and I'm
Absolutely.
just wondering if we aren't kind of guilty of some of this problem ourselves. That's what I'm wondering about. Thank you.
Ready for the proclamation? Sure. Mr. Vice Chair.
In recognition of Target Zero, whereas Target Zero was initiated by Washington Traffic Safety Commission with the goal of reducing traffic fatalities and serious injuries from collisions to zero by 2030, and whereas the Zero Deaths vision acknowledges that even one death on our transportation system is unacceptable and focused on safe mobility for all road users, and whereas Thurston County, as a partner in implementing Target Zero, will continue to develop safety implementation strategies to reduce the exposure, likelihood, and severity of crashes. And whereas Target Zero builds proactive traffic safety culture strategies to reduce high-risk driver behavior, categories such as impaired driving, distracted driving, and unrestrained passengers. Now therefore be it resolved, Thurston County Board of Commissioners hereby recognize Target Zero and the important work done in Thurston County to reduce road fatalities and serious injuries to zero by 2030, and encourages all residents to promote traffic safety. Adopted this day, 20th day of 2024, August. I move that we proclaim and recognize Target Zero in Thurston County with this proclamation.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I gotta get my hat on. I can't tell Leonard and I apart.
He did, didn't he? You can't unhear it.
Okay. We have a second presentation this afternoon, proclamation for International Overdose Awareness Day. And Katie Strozik from our opioid public health and social services to give us some background.
Well, thank you. Katie Strozik, opioid and overdose response at Thurston County Public Health. I first wanted to thank the board for once again issuing this proclamation. I believe it's the third or fourth year in a row now that the county has issued an Overdose Awareness Day proclamation, and in good company as well. Cities of Tumwater, Olympia, and Lacey have also issued a proclamation for the last 3 years now. Lacey and Olympia already did theirs earlier this month, and Tumwater is tonight. International Overdose Awareness Day is on August 31st of every single year. It's meant as a time to really recognize those who have been lost to a fatal drug overdose, as well as recognize the grief that's faced by family, loved ones, friends, and the community, and also recognize those who have responded during an opioid-related overdose, administered naloxone, called 911, administered rescue breaths, or responded in some additional way. This cause is especially of interest to me, not just because I've worked in this field for the last 10 years, but because I've been personally impacted by overdose deaths in my loved ones and friend group, and I've responded to an overdose myself with naloxone, which luckily worked and did not become fatal. In Thurston County in 2022, we had 126 overdose-related deaths, with about 80+% of those being opioid-related. For 2023, we're looking at preliminary data still, but we're looking at about 120 overdose-related deaths at this time, with still over 80% of those being opioid attributed. We're doing multiple events for Overdose Awareness Day this year. We have one coming up on Friday, the 23rd, so this Friday from 10 to 1, downtown Olympia at Harbor House. That one is specifically to reach our pregnant and parenting populations with resources for families or those who are pregnant, have children, are reunifying, are in kinship care, anything that falls under pregnant and parenting. In addition to having resources, we'll have naloxone training for responding to an overdose, as well as free naloxone distribution. Next week, on Friday, August 30th, we also are having another Overdose Awareness Day event for the broader community. It'll be at Heritage Park, and from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're running a resource fair, and then a memorial walk coordinated as a group from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. These events are especially important to the task force as they fall in line with the Thurston County Opioid Response Plan, which we have 4 action areas for: prevention, overdose, treatment, and pregnant and parenting. These events are really the brainchild of the Overdose Work Group, who's put together a bunch of work multiple years in a row now to run these events. We've seen great progress through the Thurston County Opioid Response Task Force as well, especially in reducing overdose deaths in our community. For instance, one of the things that the Overdose Work Group has done in the last year is we issued over 100 overdose response trainings in the community just in Thurston County in 2023, which most of the time were accompanied with naloxone distribution at the time of training. So it's not just me here to accept the proclamation today. We also have the chairs of each of the Thurston County Opioid Response Task Force work groups, as well as additional members of the community who actively participate in the task force as well. I also have flyers for the 2 events if anyone is interested. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
I guess I have to say this is quadrupled since fentanyl came on the scene. And unfortunately, young people, mostly young people, I guess, that get involved have no idea the strength of this fentanyl and the damage that it can do. So I would hope we'll start winning the battle at some point. Thank you for what you do.
Like Coroner Warnock is here, are we going to hear from him?
Coroner Warnock, were you here to make comments on this one?
He knows the facts
You have
more
the floor.
than the rest of us, I can tell you.
Good afternoon, commissioners and county managers. Gary Warnock, Thurston County Coroner. The information that was just provided is spot on. To date, I can inform you that we've had over 80 overdoses so far this calendar year. And Commissioner Edwards, the fentanyl crisis is a problem not only in our community, but from east to west. It's a problem everywhere. And I'm sure as a community we're doing our best to get to the bottom of it, but we just have to take the high road and do the best we can. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for all you do.
This is a Thurston County proclamation for International Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas annually commemorated on August 31st, Thurston County recognizes the importance of International Overdose Awareness Day as a call on all nations to join efforts to support overdose prevention policies and projects. It is imperative to recognize overdose as a social issue which impacts victims, their families, friends, and communities. And whereas drug overdoses, whether accidental or intentional, is one of the world's worst public health crises, from prescription opioids to illicit opioids, and whereas overdose awareness can stimulate community discussion about evidence-based drug overdose prevention, compassionate treatment and drug policy, while also educating constituents and improving awareness about harm reduction, and whereas in efforts to eliminate the rampant crisis, Thurston County Board of Health declared in June 2018 a public health crisis in our county and acknowledges the harm and hardship caused by the drug overdose and the toxic drug poisoning epidemic, and implemented the opioid task force and opioid response plan that uses a community approach emphasizing advancing equity, reducing stigma, eliminating barriers, and creating opportunities. And whereas anyone can visit the statewide resource www.stopoverdose.org to obtain naloxone, an opioid overdose reversal medication, and recovery helpline at 1-866-789-1511 for 24-hour information and help. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Thurston County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims August 31st, 2024 as International Overdose Awareness Day in Thurston County and encourages all community members to join in the collective endeavor of extending support to individuals in their journey of recovery, adopted this 20th day of August 2024 by the Board of County Commissioners.
Katie, if you could bring up all the folks you were making reference to, we'd love to get a photo.
Squeeze in just a bit more. Okay. Next, we have opportunity for the public to address the board. Board of County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public at our Tuesday board meetings. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and don't take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. Please introduce yourself, including the area of the county in which you reside when you're called. Please address the board, not audience or staff. Silence your cell phones. The board does not directly respond to public comment. On an as-needed basis, the county manager will follow up on specific items. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate any of that speaking time to another speaker. The board reserves the right to restrict a person's opportunity to address the meeting for good cause. No comments that are lewd, offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outbursts of any kind. Comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business, or remarks about pending land use permits, or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal. Finally, all written material provided to the county may be considered public records and subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of RCW. So with that, I will call each of the people that have indicated they wanted to provide testimony, as well as the person who's kind of on deck. First up is John Pettit, and Warman will be on deck.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live off Rich Road, Deschutes River Ranch. I'm going to talk about a couple different things, but I think that it was interesting having a couple proclamations. Now, my difference of how I look at things is, should we have a proclamation for International Overdose Awareness Day, or should we have every day being an important day for the awareness for overdose? Should we just do this one time a year? Oh, we've said our words. How about actions? How about making this something that is so important to us that we pay attention to it more than one day a year? More than just hiring some staff to try to bring some things into a little bit of alignment. Whether it's Target Zero, whether it's Overdose Awareness Day, whether it's a variety of these things, Earth Day, every day is important enough to take note of these items. And I think that it kind of leads me into the next part, which is, as commissioners, I realize you have legislative duties and you have administrative duties. And surprising probably to you is, of course, my opinion is you have about 15% legislative duties, about 85% administrative duties, the budget, which is a whole lot of what you're designed to do. And what this amounts to is with 5 commissioners here, we need to be working as a machine. Like your car going down the road. You could have the fanciest, best car in the world out there. But you know, it just takes having one flat tire and that car is just not working. Your wasted efforts. You have to work together. Sometimes you may have to pick up and help somebody over there, another one of your commissioners that needs a little help or guidance. But we can't decide, well, that one's just no good, we're not going to use that. Let's work with each other. Let's make this effective, which means whatever it takes, we need to listen. We are fortunate. You guys have been very fortunate. I've observed through many years and a whole variety of different people. You now have what I think is probably the best county manager that I've ever seen at Thurston County. And it's interesting because as it goes, my father, who was a commissioner back in like 1980, he actually hired the very first county manager. His name was Charlie Earl. He came from over in Yakima, Wenatchee area. And yeah, he did a whole lot of work, but he didn't have 3 or 4 helpers either. But I think you guys, if you can use the expertise and skills that have already been demonstrated by your new county manager, listen to him, and then start acting like executives and understand that you're only as good as all the people, all the employees that work for Thurston County. We all need to be being paid the proper amounts, being treated with respect. And if you're not doing anything with some of your extra time, maybe you can even go help out in some of these departments so you get hands-on to understand what's going on. So I'm going to encourage a little bit more bonding time between the commissioners and the staff in Thurston County. And let's make this place run like a good, efficient machine. And let's have it organized under the good leadership that you now have available to you to help guide you. Thank you.
Ann Warmond with Jeff Sowers on deck.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Ann Warmond, and I'm a member of the Bridge Group. That is a set of Thurston County property owners that live on the other side of the Centralia Power Canal. And there's about 30 of these homeowners. They're experiencing at this time significantly reduced fire services and denied other essential services, which include garbage pickup, propane delivery, the delivery of hay for a large number of horses that are boarded over there. And the reason for that is that the load ratings on 5 Centralia Canal bridges have been downgraded. They don't carry heavy loads any longer. But we encourage Thurston County to collaborate with the city of Centralia in trying to address this current problem and to help develop solutions for the future so this type of unexpected denial of services doesn't happen again. In terms of history, for the group of property owners called the Bridge Group that have been suddenly caught off guard, experiencing significant reductions in their essential services, there are a few that this is the first and only time that they've experienced this in 60 years. For myself and my husband, who's here, for us it's been 30 years, and we've not experienced this. Many of the folks have been homeowners there only about 20 years, but this is the first time they've experienced this. So it's not an ongoing occurrence for us. Earlier in August, the city of Centralia put out a contract to do the analysis, the engineering analysis, to determine the options and the designs and the costs to be able to correct all 5 bridges. They're expecting those results by mid-September. But I can tell you, for reviewing those results and coming up with solutions, the homeowners are not at the table. So we're appealing to Thurston County to please participate in effective and timely multi-jurisdictional problem solving and planning to work with Centralia, as well as with the Southeast Thurston County Fire Authority, to be able to come up with immediate solutions as well as long-term solutions for this. And as you can see, Matt Russell from Thurston County Fire Authority is here. They are quite concerned about this because the services that we're able to have are much reduced at this time. We need to get this fixed as soon as possible. Fortunately, it's raining, but we won't necessarily have that forever. And thank you for your attention to this.
Jeff Sowers is next. Sid Locke on deck.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Jeff Sowers. I live over on 33rd Avenue Northeast near Friendly Grove, near the new Salish Park. I'm here to speak in support of Emily Klaus, who I think has been doing incredible and amazing job as our newly elected Thurston County Commissioner. I worked on her campaign, and I was really excited to see her get elected. And now I guess I'm here asking that you respect the voters of Thurston County and the results of the last election, where Ms. Klaus received more than 60% of the vote, and reinstate her full powers and authority so that she can do the job we elected her to do. I have to say, I'm appalled. I was shocked when I read about this in the paper. I was angered that the other commissioners took this action to remove Ms. Klaus from her position on the boards and commissions and limiting her ability to interact with county staff. I do want to say I want to thank Ty Mincer for not supporting these unjustified actions taken against Ms. Klaus. He fortunately had the good sense to listen to the county prosecuting attorney and did not participate in this. Not only are you taking these unwarranted actions to remove a commissioner's power, you did it behind closed doors in an executive session, so we can't really see what's going on. And I understand there's been a complaint, but to take this kind of dramatic action against another commissioner before the investigation has even begun is premature and outrageous. The whole thing feels underhanded and undemocratic to me. Emily Klaus was elected by the voters of this county to serve as our commissioner under the laws of the Constitution of the state of Washington, under the laws and the Constitution of the state of Washington. And I don't think you can just ignore that democratic process and take it upon yourself to restrict her ability to carry out her elected functions. I went to the RCW and I looked at what the duties are of a county commissioner. As you know, you have both legislative and executive functions, and I understand she's here tonight, or to this afternoon, and is able to be on the board in her legislative capacity. But by removing her from these boards and commissions, restricting her ability to interact with county staff, you're interfering with her ability to carry out her executive functions, which is one of our previous speakers just pointed out is actually the majority of your job. And there's a long list of executive functions in the RCWs, like there's 4 pages of them. I actually read through them all. It's all the stuff the county has to do, health care, juvenile curfews, low-income housing, on and on. Lots of stuff. Nowhere does it mention authority to remove another commissioner's authority. So in my opinion, you've exceeded your authority in taking this action. I read that you thought you were doing it as a precautionary measure. Well, this doesn't seem very cautionary to me. It's kind of a bold and dramatic action that I think is of questionable legality. So I would ask that you really seriously reconsider your decision here, so that you reverse this decision, that you stop interfering with Ms. Klaus's ability to do her job. So thank you.
Thank you. Sid Locke is next, and then I will address the remaining parts of the list. You have 4 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Sid Locke. I live in West Olympia. Previous speaker summed up a lot of my feelings as well. I am a supporter of Commissioner Klaus, and I feel like the action by the commissioners have been an overreaction. And I would hope that you can reverse that action. I feel like it's premature. You should wait until after the investigation is completed. And I feel like it's punitive. And it's not just punitive to Commissioner Klaus, but it's punitive to all the people who voted for her, all the people who support her. Because we want a commissioner who can fully participate. And right now we're not getting that. So I'll just be brief. Please reconsider your decision, reverse that decision, wait until the investigation is finished. And Commissioner Klaus, we've got your back. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of folks that didn't want to testify. I had Bonnie Thompson that did not mark yes or no for testifying. Ms. Thompson? No. Okay. Very good. That's all the sign up. Is there anyone else in the boardroom who didn't get a chance to sign up who wanted to provide public comment this afternoon? Seeing none. On Zoom, I can't see the names. Upper left corner.
Michael Hada Lula.
Michael, upper, are you?
No.
Nope, okay. Thank you. Sabrina's staff, Alicia, I think that's it. Okay, I'll close off public comment. Thanks, everybody, for providing your input.
Chair, before we move forward, I have a statement to make. So in response to some of the statements that have been made here in response to Commissioner Klaus, I just want to say that, first of all, I'm so disappointed and incredibly frustrated. These past 3 weeks have been a waste of government resources, taxpayer money, and a huge emotional burden. I am disappointed because I am seeing what I myself have experienced and what other people of color experience over and over in these systems. I've seen the situation play out a million times. I myself have been scared to speak out because it's easier to believe the white woman tears and easier to paint the narrative of an angry brown woman. It's easy for her to say that I don't like her and for people to believe her than for people to know why I'm keeping my distance and the way she has made me feel. Commissioner Klaus has used her position of power and system and made it work for her. This is the reason that people of color are afraid to speak up and to confront. Because the only time people care to hear about our side of the story is when we are laying dead on the street. But when it's people trying to use the system to silence people of color, we comfort them, we support them. None of you have ever cared to think about the person who stepped forward is doing, how they also deserve accountability, how their mental or emotional health is doing. Before anyone says I'm making this a race issue, I am laying out the truth of my experience and the experience of people of color. And how did your attorney put it? Something that happens every day in America's workplace. This is not political vindictiveness. I have nothing politically to gain from this, and honestly not what motivated me to run or why I continue to serve. I'm holding Commissioner Klaus to the same standards of what I would expect from any elected official in this community if confronted with a complaint like this. Thank you. I will excuse myself for the rest of this meeting.
Manager update.
Thank you, Chair. As you may recall, we received public comment on Tuesday, July 30th from Mr. Eastland.
Can we take a couple minutes and maybe go check on her?
Let's finish this piece and then we can.
Regarding concerns about properties on Catkin Court and Buckeye Court. Just wanted to follow up with the commission that we have reached out to Mr. Eastland and reported on Community Planning and Economic Development's code compliance team and their efforts to address the concerns on those properties. The code compliance team is making progress and has issued citations. And again, we've shared that information with Mr. Eastland.
Questions for the county manager on that? Vice Chair suggests a brief recess. Any opposition to that? We will be in recess until 3 o'clock.
Sure.
Okay, it's 3:02 PM. We're back from this short recess. We're picking up with the consent agenda, but before we do that, it's been brought to my attention that there was an item from this morning that was moved from one section of the agenda to the other and didn't actually make it. So I'm gonna entertain a motion to add the item to the agenda that was approved earlier in this meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move to add classification and compensation study pay adjustments to department items. It would be item 4, well,
We'll just call it 7.
so yeah, we'll go item 7A.
Second.
Motion and second to add the classification and compensation study pay adjustments item to the agenda under 7A. Any discussion on that motion?
I just want to remark that this was talked about in our work session this morning, and this is an ongoing discussion that I believe started back in May. So this is an item that we've covered many times, and we're looking to bring it to a close today.
Housekeeping, I guess.
Okay, no further discussion. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So that item will be addressed as item 7A. Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda. We have some items that were shifted from this morning. Now we're looking at items 3A through 3G. Is there any request from a commissioner to remove an item from those 3A through 3G? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve items 3A through 3G. Non-debatable motion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and we've approved items 3A through 3G. Bringing us to item 4A, Central Services Contract Award for Building Number 3 Roof Replacement Project 25636.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thomas Tremke with Central Services. I'm the Capital Projects Manager. We're requesting authorization to enter a contract with Queen City Roofing for the replacement of the roof on Building 3 in the amount of $326,989. We're also asking authorization for the interim director of Central Services to execute a contract at any amendments that do not exceed 10%. I'm here to answer any questions.
Questions? Anything for Tom's?
No, sir.
No? Okay, is there a motion?
I move to award a contract for Building 3 roof replacement, number 25636, to Queen City SM Roofing of Tukwila, Washington, in the amount of $326,989, and authorize the interim director of Central Service to execute the contract and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
A motion and a second to award the contract to Queen City Roofing of Tukwila. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
5A is next. Washington Electric Vehicle Charging Program Grant Agreement for EV chargers at Thurston County facilities. Rebecca Harvey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Rebecca Harvey, Climate Mitigation Senior Program Manager. Staff is requesting today board approval of a grant agreement with the Washington Department of Commerce for a grant of $185 to install level 2 electric vehicle charging stations at 2 sites, which will be for county-owned vehicles. It'll include up to 20 charge ports at the parking lot across from the atrium and up to 4 ports at the Thurston County Waste and Recovery Center. I appreciate the board's support of all of our efforts to secure grant funding to meet our climate mitigation goals, including this and other grants that you're going to be hearing about soon. And I understand from this morning we still have some small outstanding questions that we're working, and I'm working with staff in Central Services and Public Works to get answers to the questions that you brought. And again, thank you very much for your support and leadership on this. I'll take any questions you have.
Quite a few questions this morning, if you're interested in checking in the agenda setting meeting, but anything more this afternoon? Is there a motion?
I move to approve contract number 2492802-085 with the Washington State Department of Commerce to accept grant funding of $185,000 for the installation of 20 level 2 electric vehicle chargers at the Atrium Pattison Lot and 4 level 2 EV chargers at the Waste and Recovery Center for county-owned vehicles and authorize the county manager to execute the contract and amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve this contract with Commerce for grant funding of $185,000. Any discussion?
Just want to commend Ms. Harvey for her hard work and all the work she does for the county.
Thank you. Thank you
All
all.
right, thank you. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Rebecca. Public Health and Social Services is next. 6A Amendment 1 to Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program Contract with Washington State Healthcare Authority. We have two items that are somewhat related. Katie Strozik will break it all down for us.
Do you want me to do them all together or separate?
You could discuss them together if that's simpler, and then we can make two separate motions.
Okay, perfect. Katie Strozik, Opioid and Overdose Response, Public Health and Social Services. The first item on the agenda is an amendment to our existing contract with Washington State Healthcare Authority. It funds our law enforcement assisted diversion program, which we currently hold 2 subcontracts for with Thurston Mason BHASO, as well as Olympic Health and Recovery Services to actually operate the service delivery portion of the program. This contract with Healthcare Authority has been in place since July 1 of 2023 and runs through June of 2025. This amendment updates language within our existing contract and then also adds $40,000 of unanticipated, unallocated money that Healthcare Authority had to supplement our existing contract. No terms of the contract change. The $40,000 is just added to the current $1.2 million, and it will still expire at the end of June 2025.
Okay. Questions on these items? Nope.
And then the second item is going to be a separate contract with Washington State Healthcare Authority. It will also be subcontracted down to Olympic Health and Recovery Services, as it is meant to supplement and expand our Thurston County Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program. It's a separate contract for $405,000, and it's meant as one-time expansion funding that's supplemental for the program for things like infrastructure, equipment, staff training, community events, partial FTE funding that can be sustained with other funding after the timeline is over, or increased transportation, things like that that don't need continued funding. This will go into effect at time of signature of the contract and will go through June of 2025 with no option for extension.
Questions on that one? Okay, let's take the first item, 6A. Is there a motion?
I move to approve Amendment 1 to contract K7136 between Thurston County and the Washington State Healthcare Authority to add $40,262 in funding for a total value of $1,153,414, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment and future amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second. Motion and second to approve Amendment 1. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's look at 6B.
I move to approve the Washington State Healthcare Authority contract K7593 for supplemental funding for law enforcement assisted diversion site programming for a maximum amount of $405,000 through June 30th, 2025, and authorize the interim director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the contract and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second. Motion and second to approve the Healthcare Authority contract for supplemental funding for law enforcement assisted diversion. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Kate.
you.
Then we go to item 7A, which was just added and moved from the previous draft consent item, and it's an HR. And we have Maria Ponte, Director of Human Resources, to present to the board.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Maria Ponte, HR Director, and today I'm here to ask you to approve a resolution allowing us to make pay adjustments to a number of positions in the Thurston County pay and classification plan and the MTP, the Management and Technical Pay Plan. In 2022, the county contracted with Siegel Consultants to do a class and comp study. The results of that, the compensation portion of it, indicated that there were a number of classifications that were significantly below market. And a few months ago, you authorized us to engage, a lot of those positions were part of the union, to engage with the bargaining units to negotiate those changes. We came to successful resolution, and so I'm here today to ask you to allow us to complete making those changes in the pay plan. Are there any questions?
Okay, any questions for Maria? Do you have it hand, I mean, how many different ones are involved?
It is, so it was a part of the election series, court assistants, a couple of positions in IT, and it affects 35 positions, and making the adjustments is about $168,000.
And these capture the positions that were most out of line according to our class and comp study.
They were well below what we consider market average of 100%. We have a 5% differential, 95 to 105 we are considered still in market, but these were about 10% below market.
And the figure you gave, was that for a calendar year or a year? When you say 168?
That is the, so when we crosswalk employees from their old range to the new range, the cost of placing them at the higher range going into the year.
All right, is there a motion?
I move to approve the resolution for position pay adjustments in Thurston County Pay and Classification Pay Plan and Thurston County Management Plan and Technical Pay Plan.
Second.
Okay, a motion been made and seconded to adopt this resolution for position pay adjustments. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to commissioner reports, and Commissioner Klaus, you want to start?
Yeah, the last couple weeks have been really busy. I have spent a lot of time with members of our lake management districts at both Pattison and Lawrence Lake. I attended the Pattison Lake Association picnic last weekend. I met with a couple constituents on some different issues, some projects to support the community, as well as efforts to help the county get closer to our climate mitigation goals. I also attended the resource fair at the Thurston County Resource Hub. Shout out to the staff who put that on. It was really successful and had a great turnout, and I had a really good time and learned a lot about some additional resources in the community that I wasn't aware of, so that was really helpful. I had a one-on-one meeting with Sheriff Sanders, also a one-on-one meeting with Prosecutor Thunheim, and I met with Arrest and Jail Alternatives staff, and they were here earlier for the Overdose proclamation, and they've got some really good programs. I plan on having a standing meeting with them probably every other month, just to kind of keep myself in the loop about what they're doing. And I also met with Superior Court staff to continue the discussion about the courthouse. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans.
Okay, I'd like to report on one of the committees I serve on, and that is the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging Committee. And they received the 2024 Workforce Development Award from the National Area Agency on Aging for the third year in a row at a recent conference. There were over 1,000 other similar agencies participating. The award recognizes the exceptional teamwork and supportive environment of the staff that is overseen by Nicole Cadu. She's the executive director of our local agency. That satisfaction and corresponding retention has developed into the excellent service that the seniors in our community are receiving on a daily basis. And if you want to see any more information on this, it was recently printed in the Centralia Chronicle on July 26th of this year. And so because of meeting disruptions, I've been a little bit tardy on getting this out. So I just want to make sure that we recognize those folks for all the good work they do over there. And then attended the Thurston Chamber, in which the 3 tribes in our neighborhood that are instrumental to our local economy gave presentations. It was a great presentation, and it's probably on the net somewhere, and anybody that's interested in seeing the economic development that we receive from our tribes might want to take a look at that. The Thurston County Resource Hub event with Commissioner Klaus up on the Hill, it was a great event, a lot of activities going on. I think we're helping a lot of people. And the steady meeting on Friday with my seatmates, and then constituent contacts were a lot of activity going on around legacy forest revenue loss concerns by our junior taxing districts. And I believe there's probably more to come on that at a later date. And a lot of compliance and building code permit concerns that seem to get a lot of attention this past week. Thank you.
Yeah. So I attended Tenino City Council meeting last week where I was given a plaque for being the mayor for 10 years. That was nice of them. Also attended the Chamber Forum on Tribal Enterprises. And, you know, it is noteworthy to, you know, just mention the amount of economic activity that the 3 tribes bring to our area. The Thurston County Chamber president likened them to Boeing, as Boeing is to Seattle, the tribal enterprises are to Thurston County. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was insightful. I'm continuing to participate in the county revenue work group through WASAC, where we're talking about what the legislative committee wants to focus on for potential revenue sources to advocate for with the legislature. And they, of course, are, you know, they're talking about property taxes, they're talking about utility taxes. B&O taxes was not a popular option, as we have all kind of noted and heard. I was trying to advocate for kind of looking into lodging taxes in a way, because it seems like there's a lot of different ways that different counties implement those. And a lot of our other counties are much smaller and they don't really see much in the way of a lodging tax. So there's not a lot of motivation to kind of pursue that. And then Friday, I along with Matt and Rebecca Harvey from our environmental program manager, we attended the Silver Springs Organic, a tour at the Silver Springs Organic Compost Facility that was really cool. They do some amazing things there, and the facility is fascinating. I really got a kick out of seeing how they filter the air coming out using chopped up stump. Have you been there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They have these biofilters that they make out of stumps that they chop up from that they get from Weyerhaeuser. I thought that was fascinating. Then went on a Lake Lawrence tour with Mr. Barry Halverson, and went to Steady, of course, and then met with all the South County leaders afterwards and the sheriff to talk about public safety in South Thurston County. Busy week.
All right, thank you. For assigned committees, I had a lot meeting, 2 canvassing board meetings. We certified the primary election this afternoon, although there will be a hand recount beginning next week for the Commissioner of Public Lands second place finisher, which, as I left the canvassing board, was 16 votes apart out of 395,000 some cast, with 717 votes to count. So it'll be within the threshold for hand recount no matter what. So that starts, our team assembles on Friday, and then they begin on Monday, and they have to be done by next Friday, although our team will be done Thursday. And we'll be meeting Thursday afternoon to kind of recertify that piece of it. I've never gone through the hand recount process as a canvassing board member, so that will be really interesting. Had a Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary meeting. I'm the alternate to Commissioner Mejia, but both of us attended last Friday with the county manager. Had the 3rd meeting of the Clean Energy SEPTI, it's called, Clean Energy Placement. It's the one about how to, tax impacts, or how to mitigate tax impacts to counties that have large-scale clean energy projects cited. And we got some information from Minnesota and New York as to how they're navigating that. Salary Commission meeting I attended last night. Good to see them have a quorum and be able to move forward. Attended the WASAC Virtual Assembly where we learned all about the Clean Building Performance Standards, and that's something that I don't know if we have any buildings that will count, but if we do, we've got some things to work on. The study meeting with my seatmates, I had a meeting with attorneys regarding the Summit Lake litigation that we're involved in with DNR. I took my tour of the voter center. I think I was the last one to do that. That was great to see. I took a tour of the Nisqually Community Forest. Right after the Nisqually River Council meeting, there was a tour set up, and I was invited and was able to see that with my own eyes after hearing about it. It was really interesting to see what they're doing up there. Capital Community Farmland Trust had a Farms Forever dinner on Saturday, which I attended. There was a festival downtown, Festival of the Stechos, the Squaxin Island Tribe put together, and I had a chance to attend that for a little while. And then the Resource Hub opening, I gave opening remarks, and that was an honor to do that. And it's great to see a really good event that happened out there with all sorts of service providers connecting to folks that need their help. So that was my 2 weeks, and with that, we're at the end of the business agenda. We do have a Transportation Benefit District meeting at 4 p.m. We'll be back in about half an hour for that, but until then, we're adjourned.